All right. Hi, I'm Dave Frasco from a company called Aframe. So we'll sort of take a little bit of a turn because there's cloud. There's cloud for complete facilities and how they can optimize stuff, as Mark talked about in the previous presentation. And then we heard earlier where you've got a feature library and how you can use that in cloud. So now we'll take a turn and we'll sort of look at what happens when you try to take the tools in the post-production process and sort of move those to the cloud, and some of the challenges and some of the things that go on. The industry's changed a lot. Some of us in the audience and on the stage that have gray hair have been doing video from when there was just 3 distribution points, those 3 networks. And that was really the only eyeballs that watched. Well, the cable market changed that, and then the internet changed that, and it exploded to all of a sudden where there's a lot of content. Facilities struggle with it, producers struggle with it. And on the IT side, the cloud has grown. You've got organizations developing new tools and optimizing it, but the two are merging. For those of us that grew up in the video side of the world, there was a wall. It was pretty high. It was 8 feet, 10 feet high, and the IT guys were over on the other side. And there the two shall meet. And now that's a much lower wall. I find it's maybe a foot or 2 high, and I can easily step across it and start to talk to IT folks. But I'm still rooted, and Aframe is rooted as a company trying to deal with production and post-production tools. So maybe we'll take a second and sort of talk about the industry tool set a little bit. In the late 90s, for editors, we had the first of several holy grails, which was shared storage. A couple of companies started to come out with the concept of, wow, I no longer have to stack SCSI drives on an editing system and be limited to that couple of meter cable length. I could actually attach network storage, initially with fiber channel, after that with Ethernet. And all of a sudden what it meant for an editor or a series of editors is central storage that they could share, but it was in one physical asset. The editors initially were their own media managers. Hey, where's that weather shot? Oh, mount my bin, and I can find, and you'll find it. And they became these really, really efficient media managers because they knew what was in their bins, which was attached to their sequence. And if you just shared those mount points, oh, wow, you were sharing metadata. Well, sort of. So a couple of companies in the mid-2000s now started to come out with production asset management tools. And those were really, really helpful for the industry because now you had the brains being a production asset management system allowing you to find the things that was pumping out through the shared storage, the heart of the system. And you could start to do things like organize and view and add metadata at any level. There were no APIs back then to share. You were just happy if somebody named the file and didn't call it tape 001, which is the default name by several editing systems. So production asset management, the only negative side, which you see 10 years later, is some of these systems are 15, 20, 25 servers. Some of them can be virtualized, but some of them can't. The manufacturers wrote them that they have to be, physically connected. So you end up with facilities that really, really struggle to scale that. Never mind put it in multiple locations, because this all works really well in one location. In our industry, the post-production part of the industry, the internet was something we all used for email and started to deal with web browsers. But for the professional video person, we started to really use the internet to move files, point to point. And there's 3 companies, some have it presented either yesterday, today, or tomorrow, that accelerate that movement. So you have the Signiants and the File Catalysts and the Asperas, all of which really do a good job today of accelerating whatever pipeline you can do to move stuff. But I like to think of the internet just as the highway that we use. There's some people that start to use the terms internet and cloud interchangeably, and I think they confuse people. There are several people that have spoken yesterday, today, and will speak tomorrow that know way more about the cloud technically than I do. And as we've seen, there's cloud implementations for complete feature film libraries, for complete facilities, and a host of other applications. For many of us, In the video space, it started to become a central place to store things. Amazon with the S3 portal, but there was no simple user interface, or some people commercialized other tools like Dropbox to put video in, but it didn't work. It doesn't work extremely well and integrated, complete with asset management, in a video production environment. So in a perfect broadcast video or professional video world, and I'll use those terms interchangeably because broadcast to some people still means you work in a TV station, but and if you and that has changed. So for a broadcast and video requirement, one of the problems that in shared storage people are still finding, you had to tune video for the larger file sizes. This is not financial or medical, social media, transactional data. So you'd have to tune it for that. You need it to be very, very secure. You want to make sure that in a broadcast video cloud, you support all types of file sizes. No limits, no puts and gets or bandwidth charges. We really don't want to, as consumers, deal with that. I just want to be able to put my media up. And if I have all this media, it's just like having it in a central storage area. If I can't see it, it's really not very, very useful for the average person. So you need a video player that's frame accurate and time code. Without frame accuracy and time code in either 25 frame or 30 frame drop or non-drop, you really haven't met one of the two core tenets of a professional broadcast video person. We live by those two things. And of course, now if I have all of that and I can see it, but I have no clue what the metadata is, well, I can't get the benefits of reusing it. So I want to be able to search, comment, log, organize it, and manage that media. If I have met all those requirements, there's some really neat benefits to the cloud for a post-production tool. Now I have all these assets in a central repository, and they're accessible by everyone regardless of the location. So that large shared storage media management system that you built in Los Angeles and then you duplicate it in New York and in Miami and in Chicago becomes very expensive as you start to move it to some of your other smaller locations. If you put it all into the cloud, then everybody can access that regardless of their location. The other wonderful thing that a cloud offers you is the ability to do geographic disaster recovery. So now I have a couple of terabytes, 100 terabytes worth of media in LA. Where is it backed up? And many facilities and many of you listening to this probably have been tasked with trying to get a solid backup. And whether you're using another on-premise system or whether you're using a portal into the cloud, it becomes a challenge. But it's very, very important to have that geographic disaster recovery backup. And the other nice thing the cloud does is allow you to scale very easily. You can start as small as you need to, and you can define that as what do you need to consume today. Gone are the days of needing to buy 512 terabytes or a petabyte of storage because that's what a manufacturer can offer you because that's the size you're going to grow into. If you need to start with 100 terabytes or 10, start there and grow and consume storage and asset management tools as you need them. And of course, over time, the physical restraints and the heating and air conditioning costs of building server after server and rack after rack of equipment, as many people know, becomes almost as much of a challenge as building the technology. And is the cloud secure? We want to make sure that if we talked about in earlier presentations that you've heard, the public cloud, the private cloud, and the hybrid cloud, and all of those different pieces mean important things. But if you have a semi-private cloud where you have a data center in a top-tier colo, you can control the hardware and software you deploy. Customers know where their media is living. We can encrypt the media in transit, 128-bit or 256-bit, whatever the security requirement is, and we can make sure that any cloud implementation is independently tested so that customers are very, very comfortable with the security and the business continuity plans because customers are trusting their assets to an environment that's not within their four walls. Of course, there's some people that can offer this inside a four-wall solution and both work, but in this environment, where you may not have the talent or the infrastructure to put a four-wall environment in place on premise, you want to make sure that the business continuity plans align to what yours are. So if I have all of that, we then think about, well, okay, now all of this media is living in a broadcast professional cloud. Can everybody see it? Can my neighbor down the street who's using the same service see it? No, video access should be controllable, which is different than user access. So I want to be able to make sure I can create an account and an organizations inside of that account, and then make sure there's levels of access to that media and make sure those can't be broached. And just because I now have defined video access doesn't mean that every user gets to see all the media that they have access to. So there have to be user rights, and that should be managed down to an individual level of who has permission to upload or download, who has permission to log and add metadata, and who has permission to forward or share media. And when you have that user access control and a video access control, you start to build a secure environment to allow people to work. So if you start to think about working, it's fun to think about the possible workflows inside a facility. And as we heard in the previous presentation from Mark, sometimes the people are the hardest part of getting the workflows implemented. It's not the technology, it's that can we work this way? And a lot of people get very used to, well, if I have to move a file from here to New York, let's just move the file from here to New York point to point. As I mentioned, there's plenty of very good acceleration products to move that, but why not just put it into one place, into a cloud, and then let people move it down? Well, I'm moving it twice, says the naysayer. Well, yeah, but if I ask you to move it from LA to Miami and to Detroit and to Houston and to New York and to London and Singapore, and we tell you to do that not all at once that you can officially launch all those, but every couple hours I give you one more deliverable, you're sending an awful lot of point-to-point transfers. So what about the concept of putting that raw media or finished media up to the cloud and making it available for viewing, because we have a frame-accurate timecode-based player, for transcoding to any format that you need, for organizing, because any tool that you build has to be able to easily and simply add metadata. And of course, it should be available to be exported either out of the system or via an API, and downloading. And the really interesting workflows to look at are the delivery or the download workflows. And this isn't a CDN. That's a whole nother section of the industry. But this is just the point of, if multiple people need a file, do I have to ask for it, or can it just be delivered to me? So let's take a look at two use cases of customers that use Aframe and this model that we've done. First would be Fox Sports and Fox Sports 1 and 2. Internet heavy cable channels for outside of the main Fox Sports, and dealing with multiple different sports. And national, international affiliates, the concept was try to contribute the best of all sports every day. So it could be cricket last week from India. It could be Formula One from Australia in 3 weeks. It could be preliminaries for Women's World Cup that'll happen this summer in Vancouver. It could be anything. And around the world, Fox affiliates, the regional sports here in America, and the international Fox organizations contribute the best sports footage of the day. Well, where do they put it? They put it onto a Fox intranet site, and that's where they add the iNews metadata for the news system. That's where they add the still frame and the short and long descriptions, and then they add a link to the video. And that link is powered by Aframe. All of that video is sitting in the Aframe broadcast cloud, and they've linked to it. Viewers can now, from any web browser, look at a proxy video, and then if they like that video, because it's all about seeing that sport, they can download it in its original format or in the transcoded format they need. So a practical example of that, and it's a wonderful chart, was last summer's World Cup. So to cut to the chase, we know Germany won, but in the beginning, 50, 60 countries around the world were all looking for World Cup soccer footage. But as the weeks went on and as the tournament went on, countries like the U.S. dropped out and England dropped out, and their consumption of the video for their local country became only the one highlight. And in the end, there was one country that was still consuming a tremendous amount of video, and that was Germany, along with, of course, Fox in the lot. But why have to send a package of 50, 60 shots every day to every country in a point-to-point delivery? Why not just let the countries and the local Fox affiliates and the local Fox countries, in this case, consume what they needed? So Fox Australia, they were consuming tremendous amounts in the first 2 rounds until all of a sudden, in defeat, they now consumed one shot, the highlight of each week. And in the end, the two, as I said, the biggest consumer was Germany. So they got to take what they needed, a self-serve model. A different example of that, not on a clip basis, is a complete program. So there's an awful lot of social media websites that have started to add a tremendous amount of video. Why? Because back to that first slide, video is a driving force. It's driving eyeballs. It's what young professionals and people who predominantly consume video on the web, they want to see it. They want to see it in a simple way. They just want to click and have video. So Vice Media, a website that has 8 different channels, stores all of their finished programming on Aframe. It gives them several things. First of all, it gives them that very, very important disaster recovery of they have 2 master copies of everything and 3 master copies of everything in 2 different separate geographic locations, New York and LA for them. But more importantly, when Fox Spain or Fox Australia is licensed by the parent company, which is based out of Brooklyn, New York, that's where Vice's headquarters are, to consume another 10 episodes of a specific channel, they don't have to be sent that media. Their license is updated and they're able to download it in a self-serve model from the Aframe cloud. So it has saved Vice 2 people, 2 staff positions that have been able to repurpose to not having to just constantly send media to a different location. Please send these 4 shows to Spain. Please send these 6 shows to Singapore. Please send these 12 shows to Australia. No. Just tell the media manager in Australia, your permissions have been updated. You can download that new channel. So currently over 100 terabytes worth of original finished programming sits on the Aframe servers backed up in 2 locations, and they can provide a wonderful self-serve model. So that self-serve model, just a quick screenshot, 2 different ways you can deal with it. One is a desktop application, because we have to add some amount of automation. It can't be just point and click in a web browser. So I can take an interview folder and map it to a download folder, and then anything I add to that folder. So if I'm a media manager for Vice and I have the Noisy collection or the Fightland collection up, any new video that's added to that will automatically download to my watch folder, which will then be integrated into my on-premise system. I don't have to move it multiple times. But of course, the way Fox does it is they take a piece of video, create a link. It can be a link or an email. They can include the web stream, the original, or any of the transcoded formats, and then they post that link to their intranet site or email it to people to allow them to download it and consume it, whether it's the proxy or the original. It's the same workflow. So if you get used to sending proxy for view, great. Well, that's great. I've looked at the proxy. It was easy to get. Now how do I get the high res? The same way. Oh, I need it transcoded into ProRes. The same way, whatever the format. So 2 examples of what a broadcast professional cloud can provide users in a delivery model. So many of you may not be familiar with Aframe. I thought I'd take just a second and explain that it's a company started 5 years ago by the guy named David Pito. You'll see him in a video in a moment. Company's based in London. Headquarters in the U.S. or in Massachusetts. We've been in the U.S. for a little over 2 years now. So data centers in top-tier colos in New York, Los Angeles, and L.A. It is SaaS delivery. We support all browsers, so Firefox, Chrome, Safari, IE, no more 7, 8, 9, 10 are all supported, and painstakingly make sure that the slight characteristic changes of all those browsers are supported, because all we want a customer to have is internet capacity and a browser. There is no software or hardware to own or download or upgrade. And A-Frame really provides you that scalable capacity, that ability to upload or download media without worrying about file size or how long it's going to take. That doesn't mean in the future, as several people have talked about, that we shouldn't be able to connect to other broadcast or other cloud portals for backup or for DR through technology that like OpenStack and other technologies to allow us to not have it, to have that true hybrid of where you can take a private cloud and introduce it to the public. That's certainly where we're headed. And most importantly, that metadata that we've acquired from the chute or added into the system can be exported, first of all, as a post-production tool into the editing system of choice, and we're agnostic to any of the 3 popular editing systems. And then, of course, as others have mentioned, out via an API, so that if the metadata has to live in a complete archive system or in another part of your facility system, that any metadata that you've captured inside of A-Frame is not trapped in A-Frame, because then that's just yet another tool with a moat around it that's not as useful. So currently support Adobe, Apple, and Avid editing systems, and export that metadata directly into their system, so editors get what they want. A bin populated with comments that an intern or a producer or an AD added on the shoot or from the plane using A-Frame to comment and log their media. So think of A-Frame as a cloud video collaboration platform. We accelerate that file transfer up and down, and it's secure. We provide that broadcast cloud storage for broadcast and professional use, allowing you to have that real-time collaboration, providing you transcode capabilities to any broadcast or mezzanine format that you need. A review and approval is, of course, an easy offshoot of this that allows you to send emails with embedded links and take comments back. But it's more than just a review and approval app. It allows you to share media and send that one-to-many concept, that self-serve model. And most importantly, and where we're headed, is to now focus on the asset management piece. The more and more metadata you can add and attach to that media and export to an editing system or export to an on-premise DAM or MAM really makes the power of the system very well, very successful. And David Pito, the CEO, has always said that A-Frame allows people to see media. If I can store it, if I can create a proxy, and if I can see it, I'm more likely to use it more often and repurpose it more often. So that gives you a little peek into A-Frame. I think at this point, what I'll do is roll a short, brand new image piece that we just created and will debut at NAB. It was too big to embed into the PowerPoint.
Roll sound.
6 take.
Action day.
Imagine a world where working with professional quality video was as easy as firing up your web browser, where your teams, departments and partners can simply see video and so collaborate with each other instantly, no matter where they are in the world at that moment. Sounds good, right? Hold that thought. It's actually the reality today. At A-Frame, we've built the world's most powerful video collaboration platform to transform your business by giving you just that. One central place where everyone can see, access, and work with video, no matter what stage it's at or what they need to do with it. Because even if it's not like the old days anymore, it doesn't mean it's got any easier. Consider this. Companies are facing a challenge of a 10-fold increase in the amount being filmed, 40% of companies are losing content, and up to 80% of content is never seen again because it can't be found. The world's largest corporations, broadcasters, producers, agencies trust our secure cloud infrastructure and teams in LA, New York and London to manage thousands of hours of content every day, all without installing a single piece of hardware. So stop worrying about the 10 times too much coming in and start getting up to 10 times more use from your video instead. My name's David Pito, and I'm the founder of Aframe. I used to be a producer and then went on to build a post-production company. And I watch my customers struggle with video every day. So I set out to solve this with Aframe, a company that's relentless in constantly innovating so that we're ready for whatever new challenge video throws at you. And we've done this by combining all the things you need to work with video into one cloud platform, from moving huge files around to transcoding, storage, asset management, sharing and delivery, all wrapped in a brilliantly simple to use interface that lets your teams just get on with what they need to do. And they can do this not only because Aframe just works, but because we understand that doing something new can be scary, and we're here to help them every step of the way. And once you're up and running, the more offices, the more people you put on Aframe, the more time zones we help you cross, the savings get higher, the benefits get bigger, and the better and better your video becomes. So discover for yourself what others already have. That all of this is a reality. And wherever there's video, Aframe will help. After all, seeing is believing.
And cut.
Okay.
Little break from PowerPoint. Thank you very much for your time today.